All right. This morning I'm here with Christy Glasper, the Executive Director of CASA here in Bastrop. And I'd like to ask you some questions about your organization here, and so we can let the people know with BCOC about what you do. And so hopefully then they'll find a way that they can be a part of your organization.
Sure.
So the first thing I'd like to ask is, what is the purpose of your organization?
The purpose of CASA, and CASA stands for Court Appointed Special Advocates, is to recruit and train community volunteers in Bastrop, Fayette, and Lee counties to advocate for children who've been removed from their homes due to child abuse and neglect. And then beyond that, to serve them until they find permanency in their life.
Okay. And why is this organization needed?
This organization is needed. Currently, we're serving 357 children in the three-county area,
Wow.
and probably 75% of those children are from Bastrop County alone. Our organization is the only organization here in the community that serves children once they reach the foster care system, and we advocate for them not only in the court system but also in the community, educationally and medically, to ensure that their needs are being met while they're in the system.
Wow. And how is this organization funded then?
Our organization is a nonprofit. One of our biggest funding sources is we seek grants through federal and state grants, but about 20 to 25% of our funding comes from support from the community through fundraising.
Okay. And how long have you been in this organization?
I've been here with CASA since May of 2013, so a little over 3.5 years as the executive director. And our goal is just to increase the awareness of what we do, and our foundation is built on recruiting volunteers. So that's our biggest need for our organization at this time.
Okay, and that's of course what the part I especially want to get into is the volunteer part. Mm-hmm. So what volunteer positions do you have, and a little bit also what qualifications, if there's any, needed, and what will they be expected to do?
Okay, so to volunteer with CASA as an advocate, and there's a difference between our volunteers and our advocates. A volunteer is someone who might want to volunteer here in the office to help with some paperwork or some things to get together for brochures type things. And then we also have the CASA advocate. The advocate is the person who is trained through a 30-hour community training that we have here, that then goes out and visits the child or the children in the home that they're placed in. So either in a foster care, or if they're placed with parents, grandparents, or family during the time that their parents are working to get their children back. Qualifications for becoming an advocate is that they have to be at least 21 years old. They have to pass an FBI background check.
Okay.
And they have to go through the 30-hour training, which is not all here in classroom. There's some online stuff that's done as well. And then have to have a love for kids.
I understand.
I think our biggest piece is that we have to take away the idea that it's not my kid, not my problem anymore. And we have to truly look at, it does take a village to raise a child. And so the volunteer is the biggest piece. They're the most influential piece when we go to the court system to say this is how this child is doing. The judges really take into account what we say and look for permanency for that child at the end of the court case. Wow.
And it sounds, now exactly when they're volunteering for this, about how many hours a week, or what would be the amount of time that they
We require a minimum of 10 hours a month. So a minimum of 10 hours a month is not a lot. That's going out to see the child where they're placed, that's having any interaction with that, your caseworker for CASA, the caseworker for CPS, so that adds up quickly. And so it's about establishing a relationship with the child or the children, because at that time, being in the court system is scary, or in the foster care system, and so they need someone, a trusted adult that they can start to build a relationship with and talk with. And so that's really the reason why we're here.
I would imagine that's the part of the bonding process, that to meet that young person and then try to establish a relationship there. Take some time, I'm sure.
Sure. Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
The also And you mentioned earlier when we were discussing some things about working with other agencies here.
Mhm.
So, does a volunteer have any other contact with those agents, or is that something strictly that you do?
As far as the agency piece at the higher level, that's something that we would do, but we do partner with the Child Advocacy Center. Most of the time they do provide therapy for our children, so there may be some interaction between the therapist and the volunteer. We do partner a lot with the Family Crisis Center, but they kind of focus more on getting help for the parents, and so that's not really a role that we play with them.
Okay.
But we know that, all three agencies together are helping support that family as a whole.
Okay, so it's probably good for the person to know that,
Sure.
but also know the lines that they have to stay within,
Sure.
to not go outside the boundaries and let other people do the part they need
Right.
to do.
And those are some of the things that we discussed during
Okay.
that training.
Very
very
good.
specific about what role that the volunteer plays, what role the supervisor plays, and then at the whole, at the larger level, what role I play.
Great. Now, what are some of the positive results that you've seen through this organization and especially in that volunteer role?
National CASA has done a lot of research, and we too here have that. Children with CASA volunteers, they are less likely to return to the foster care system. They're more likely to do better in their education. They're more likely to find permanency because we're there to help push the CPS system to find that child a safe, permanent home. And if that's not back with their family, then we have a role in choosing an adoptive family with that child. The larger piece is that we're the consistent face for these children. CPS is overburdened, they're underpaid, but so they may have caseworkers that change all the time, but the one constant in these children's lives are our CASA volunteers.
Excellent, excellent. Now, what would you say is a vision for CASA?
Our vision for this community is that we would have a CASA volunteer for each child. Right now, about 50% of our cases are being covered by volunteers. The remaining 50% are being covered by my staff, and so it's my hope that we one day will get to where all children are covered by volunteers and that our community is really supporting these children while they linger in the foster care system.
Well, that is excellent. Well, I thank you very much today for this interview, and I'm really believing that by getting the word out here that this will help bring in some volunteers to your organization, and we can see young people who are struggling with different issues in their families to be taken care of in a very good manner.
Sure.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.